My experience as a student missionary was absolutely life-changing. I cannot take that year back for the world.
My experience as a student missionary was a refining experience. A lot of rough times that really helped to shape me into the person that I am today, but I wouldn't trade them for anything.
The moments that hit me, that I was gone for an entire year, was when I stood up and started teaching. And really after about the first week of teaching, I was like, wow, this is what it's going to be like, teaching for the next 10 months.
I'm going to be here all year. This is my life. And that's when it really hit me that I was there.
I learned things like how to deal with different cultural backgrounds that don't understand where you're coming from. And I also learned that there's a lot of happiness even when there's a lot of bad and tragedy in people's lives, despite the suffering that they go through.
When I went over to my location, it felt somewhat similar to America. There was times I was like, oh look, that's a mini supermarket, that's kind of cool. But other times, well, it was different because you'd be going along and see shacks and you'd be like, wow, this looks nice in some places, but in other places it's completely different.
When you are forced to go into an environment, into a culture, into a country that is not familiar to you, that is not what you've always known, you're going to encounter tests and trials that are very foreign to you. You're going to be forced to rely on God in a way that you've never been able to in your life.
For one, something I learned was do not depend on self. Like, you cannot depend on self. Classroom, yeah, you can. But over there, you can only depend on God because you're placed in situations that you can do nothing else in but seek God.
I'd say service is love that knows no bounds. When you're going through a difficult moment in life where it's causing you to just break down, you have to think to yourself, what's more important, myself or the cause that I'm serving for? And so I think service is realizing that your cause is more important.
Service is living intentionally, not for yourself, but for other people.
Honestly, service is following God.
For me, it was the first time when my seniors came into my office and asked me about the God I talked about during worship in English class. And so for me, that was it. Like, I was previously, raised Roman Catholic and come to see the full light of who Jesus was. And there was a kid, same situation, a little older, senior year of high school, and seeing the Catholic Church, seeing drinking, seeing the world, and saw that there was something different and asked me about it. That really just was God screaming to me, here you are. This is why you're here.
I knew I was doing student missionary work once I realized that the day that I was leaving, when my kids were crying and they were sad to see me go. And I was like, whoa, these kids loved me and I loved them, and I don't live here anymore.
Partly when I realized it was on the last day of school, when we were signing yearbooks. And the reactions I got in my yearbook were varied, but one of them really struck me. It said, Mr. Neal, thank you for teaching Bible. And that was from a student who was a Buddhist, that I didn't really even think that she had that much of an interest. But that's what she took, and that's when it struck me, you know what, I'm here to make a difference.
A student missionary for me is more than just a student that's a missionary. It's someone that takes the time out of their own academic career, their own life, and decides to do something more than just for themselves, but for the people that are out there in need, that are thirsty for the Word of God and for His love.
A student missionary is someone who is willing to take off 1 year from school, learn a lot about themselves, and be able to really trust God in order to serve others.
Well, I'd say to future SMs is, no matter what you think your skills are, and what skills you think you lack, God knows you better than you know you. And He can use you in ways that you would not believe. So just let God lead, and there's always a million reasons that you can come up with to say no to going, but just say yes. That's so much easier, and letting God lead you in your decision of where to go and what to do.